Welcome back into Wake Up America. I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks so much for being with us.
And I'm Alison Maloni. We have Ron DeSantis said, I'm not sure if we have that soundbite, but our next guest was interviewing Ron DeSantis on the role that fathers play in our lives as the issue of fatherlessness households is once again thrust into the national conversation.
That's right. This, as we get closer to Father's Day, which happens on Sunday, let's bring in the host of a very popular podcast and author of a best-selling book of the same name, First Class Fatherhood. Alec is with us. Alec, pleasure to have you with us in-house this morning.
Rob, Alison, pleasure to be here.
Thanks for joining us. So talk to us about the role of fathers, because, you know, we heard a lot about this and then it kind of went away. But you talk about there's increase in crime. There's so much happening. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, you know, the importance of Father's Day, really, if you want to know how important fathers are, not just to the family, but to our society, community, and the country, go to any prison system in this country and ask the inmates if they had a father in the home growing up. Over 80% of them are going to tell you that they did not. And even if you ask some of these guys with their PhDs on the street, their panhandling degrees, if they had fathers in the home growing up, same thing there. So it correlates to everything. That's why it's like, you know, we got to get fathers back into the home, back involved in their kids' lives.
So it's uncomfortable to talk about in some circles. You know, no one wants to talk about that. And by the way, the violent criminals, people that are violent felons, it's almost 90%. What does that tell you?
Yeah, it tells you the importance of fatherhood. And you're right. When you do bring it up, I do get a lot of blowback from single moms out there. It's not a slight on motherhood. It's not a slight on single moms out there that are doing miracles.
Yeah.
The fact is, the father's role is just as important as the mom's role. And we got to make sure that we're celebrating the fathers just as much as we are the moms.
Yeah, because a lot of times the fathers are doing, you know, double duty. They're not just, you know, they're not just working, but they're taking the kids to school. But they're also, you know, there as a role model for boys and girls.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And especially the young men, though, like you pointed out there, too, the violent criminals, young men need to have a father or a father figure in their life. And when they don't, you know, I interview a lot of these military dads. Some of them, a lot of the Navy SEALs, they didn't come from a home with a father. They found that father influence in the military. A lot of the athletes that I interviewed didn't have the father. They found it through a coach. So you have to find that positive male role model in your life for these young guys. Otherwise, it ends up in a real bad situation.
Okay, so fatherless homes, and this is a fascinating stat, they've tripled over the last 50 years. Why? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, there's a few reasons for that. Number one, the welfare system, it really rewarded moms for not having a man in the home.
Right.
And then you also have the fact that the family court systems in this country are not favorable to dads. They favor moms. Most men start from under the bus and they get financially strapped, they get humiliated, and they're trying to fight for just a small piece of custody. And it pushes so many good dads that can't keep fighting out of their kids' lives. Then you also have, you know, your no-show dads. So you have a trifecta there that's just creating a disaster in our society.
Yeah. Right. You actually interviewed Matthew McConaughey on your podcast talking about how big of a role fathers play. Take a listen.
Well, Alec, it's an epidemic, and it's another one. I know we're all talking about the COVID, but one of the epidemics we got going is what you just brought up. We've had it going for a while. Fatherless. Look, we all got to understand. More people have to understand that fatherhood's a verb. It ain't like you helped make the baby and then you did it, and now you're a father. Oh, now the work just begins.
So right.
Yeah, and you know, I really would have loved to have heard Matthew McConaughey when he was speaking at the White House bring up the issue like he did on my podcast about the fatherless crisis, because he was talking about the gun control, pushing gun laws and stuff like that. One of the interesting things is that the percentage of homes with guns hasn't changed in the last 50 years. It's been hovering 42, 44%, bouncing back and forth.
Right.
But the number of homes without dads has tripled, 25%. That's where the disaster is. That's where the focus needs to be, is getting the dads back into the home.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So that goes back to my first question. It's an uncomfortable conversation in some circles. How do we get over that stigma? I wish Matthew McConaughey brought that up, because this is you can attribute so much crime to a fatherless household. Dad's not there.
Right, and we need voices like Matthew McConaughey's to be vocal about this. This is what I do on First Class Fatherhood, the podcast, and it's in First Class Fatherhood, the book. I bring on these high-profile dads that have really crushed it in life, Super Bowl MVPs, no matter what they've accomplished. They say, you know what? all these things, the greatest fulfillment I've ever got in my life is through becoming a father. Those are the stories that need to be told. That's how we get it back on track.
It is for me. Tell us about your family.
Yeah, I'm a father of 4. I got 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. If we didn't get the girl on the 4th try, we'd probably have 5 by now, but we got her, and that's the name of that tune.
I'm with you. Good for you. Congratulations.
That's great. Well, we wish you success with your book and your podcast. Everybody should get the book as well as listen to the podcast. It's so important. We thank you so much, and happy Father's Day to you.
First Class Fatherhood is the book. Alex Lace is the author.